Hey everybody, Thomas Morgan here with 1031navigator.com. This episode is a mini-sode. It is an excerpt pulled from our recent conversation with Aaron Crowley from Asset Preservation Inc. Asset Preservation is one of the largest qualified intermediaries in the country. This episode explores a specific listener 1031 question. And remember, if you're looking to move from a management-intensive property or a low or no income property into a secure, long-term net lease property that provides peace of mind, then go to 1031navigator.com/free, and I'd be happy to provide a free 1031 replacement property consultation. I only do a couple of these a month, and right now I only have one left. You can go to 1031navigator.com/free. Enjoy the show. Another term we've mentioned quite a few times is like kind, and that leads to the question, is 1031 exchange only for investment property?
It depends on your yes and no. Property held for exchange. The code says property held for used in a trade or business or for investment. So that by saying that what it isn't good for is a primary home, a second home, or something you're going to sell. So something held for sale, and again, something you're going to move into, or something you intend not to rent out but utilize. So those are really the only three things typically that don't qualify. Almost everything else. So land is an investment property, doesn't have to be rented. If I had a beautiful place in Snowmass and I used it for myself, my family, I didn't rent it, and I could have, that does not count. It may be an investment property to you or to me because it has appreciated, and I knew it would because I bought it at the right time. The IRS will not consider that an investment property. Only if I rented it or intended to rent it or tried to rent it and can substantiate that. So yes, it's for investment properties. However, oil rights, oil and gas programs, mineral rights, water rights, development rights, conservation easements, communication easements, all those things are also like kind.
So trade, business, or investment. Those
trade,
are the three words.
Trade, business, or held for investment. What the IRS doesn't tell us in the code is how long does it have to be held for investment. That's where that intent comes in. Could you exchange into something, keep it for 6 months, 3 months, and exchange out of it? You could. It depends on your intent. What happened during that time? What was your intent when you bought it? If you intended to sell it and you put it right back on the market, it's not going to fly.
Because that would become ordinary income.
Correct, because that's what you do
gains.
for. So if you're a subdivider and you're going to take land and you're going to cut it up, you're going to sell it, and that's what you do, you're not going to get capital gains. You're not going to be allowed to do an exchange. If you are, you just happen to hold a piece of property for a couple of years. So the IRS puts safe harbors in place. Safe harbor is 2 years. They like to see things held for investment for 2 years. Most CPAs will say a year and a day is fine. Some people would say cross over 2 tax years. So it's a gray area, but they're looking at your intent. So they're looking at when did you put this on the market? Why did you buy it? What purpose? I had somebody who exchanged into a commercial building for their business. They were out in 6 weeks. Aaron, can I exchange out for the building across the street? I don't know. What's your circumstance? Well, it's not enough water. We didn't realize that the electricity wasn't enough to run the building. Did you move in? Yes. Well, no one's going to move their entire business into it unless their intent was to stay.
Right.
So could they prove intent? Yes. Is it 2 years? No. Was it a year and a day? No. But they could prove intent.
On gray areas like that, when people ask me those questions, I say I'm not a CPA or an attorney, and you should ask them.
Absolutely.
But you say, are they going to be the ones defending you if the IRS comes calling? And the answer is yes. Make sure they're willing to back you up on whatever advice, even if they're a CPA, even if they're a tax attorney, make sure they're willing to back you up on whatever, if it's a year and a day or if it's a safe harbor 2 year, are they willing to support that opinion they give you?
Correct. I always say substantiate.
Substantiate. Okay.
Put it in a file. If you try to rent it, show a lease. If you rent it, if you put it on the market, VRBO for a year and you didn't get anybody, put that in there. So it's not what you intended to do. You're like, I intended to do this. It's what you can substantiate to the IRS in writing, basically.
Right. Okay.
What your intentions were.
Okay.
So like kind is a kind of a misnomer, because someone will say, well, I sold a ranch, I need to buy a ranch. I sold a triple net building, I need to buy another triple net. I need a commercial building for commercial building. It isn't like that. When my Texas colleague will say, like kind means if you kind of like that, you should buy that. Or if you like that kind, buy that. So it has much more to do with how you treat that property and what that is. Is it an investment property to you than what it looks like or where it is? So I can go from a ranch in Montana to an office building in Chicago, exchange out of that to multifamily in Orlando, exchange out of that to something else.
Right. And I think that goes back to a misconception. People think that if I'm selling land, I have to buy land. If I'm selling retail, I need to buy retail, but that's not the case.
You still hear that all the time. So no, it can be improved, unimproved. It can be a variety of things. And as we just said, it can be into triple net, it could be in DST, it could be into water rights, it could be all sorts of things that you don't think as real property, but it is part of the real property.
The Tax Cut and Jobs Act eliminated the business portion. Is that
personal
correct?
Property,
for FF&E, or the personal property, has been eliminated out of the 1031. So
correct.
You'd have to deduct that from your sale if you were selling a business with real estate.
You probably should anyway, doing the cost seg or some sort of analysis so that you get, they thought to make it up with some bonus depreciation, some other accounting sort of uses that might still help people. But yes, that we say was thrown under the bus in order to keep real property exchanges. So no longer can you exchange your Learjets and your art and your combines and equipment. So it was devastating to many industries.
And so 1031 exchange art is
no longer.
No longer 1031 exchange your art, because that's considered personal property.
Exactly.
Okay.
So no art, no planes, no fleets of cars, no boats, no sports teams, any of those things, no longer. So it must be real estate or one of those things that I mentioned.
I feel sorry for those people who can't deduct their sports teams anymore.
So those don't count anymore. So like kind is great. It's also confusing. I always ask in my class, okay, if somebody's buying a 3-bedroom residential rental and they want to exchange for another 3-bedroom residential rental, can they do that? And they all like, of course. And I say, it may look exactly, maybe the house next door, but if they're not going to rent it to somebody, if they're going to move in, doesn't qualify. If they're going to paint and carpet and resell it, it doesn't qualify. If they're going to move their mom in without any rent, it's not going to qualify.
That does it for today's listener question. Hopefully you got some real value out of that. To ask your own commercial and investment real estate question related to 1031 exchanges and or triple net properties or other passive income real estate, please visit 1031navigator.com/ask. Again, that's 1031navigator.com/ask. You can also leave a question by leaving a direct voicemail at the podcast hotline 970-300-1994. Again, ask your question by leaving a voicemail at 970-300-1994. Thanks for listening to the 1031 Exchange Passive Income and Investment Series. Hopefully it's helping you create, build, and protect your wealth. Talk to you soon.
And remember, this show is provided for your informational and educational purposes only. Be sure to check with your accountant, lawyer, and or other tax professionals and advisors before relying on this information. Although the information contained herein is believed to be accurate and reliable, we do not guarantee its accuracy or completeness, and it is provided without warranty. Common sense is the best practice.